That's the first trophy of the season. If you want to put it that way, all right? That's a trophy, which gave me a moment to say goodbye to Jurgen Klopp, gave me a moment to appreciate this team, gave me a moment to go, wow, like what a ride this has been, and what a result it was at Wembley for Liverpool. 1-0 with basically the Liverpool under-18s or Liverpool youth or Liverpool under-21s, whatever you want to call them, beating this Chelsea side. And yes, there is the famous Gary Neville quote, no, I'm not particularly going to play into it, but I am interested to explore how Liverpool were fortunate to win against this team, how Chelsea were also fortunate in this game, and how this was only a game that would play out in a cup final, not even in a Premier League game, not even in like a, this is only a cup final game. It mixed the final with the one-off occasion of it, and this was pretty perfect. And of course, gave Liverpool another incredible memory to take into the final few months, if not, a couple of away and home games that we have under Jurgen Klopp. It was a very special day, I think. Going to Wembley with Jurgen has been something we have become accustomed to. We've done it quite a lot in this time. We've been quite good in that time. Of course, the last time that we were in the Carabao Cup, we beat Chelsea in that final. Different manager, different team, different phase. And you know what, actually? Different approach in that final. We thought we were golden in that one. There was like a quad on, there was all sorts of things. It was an incredible time to be a Liverpool fan. This is a very different era, and it kind of like defines what is going on at the club at the moment, right? Really mixed starting 11. Almost none of the starting lineup in the way that we would want them to be oriented, apart from maybe that back line. And even then, it's like, Conor Bradley's fantastic, but Trent is out. He's like a vice captain. Alisson is out. He is one of our talisman. In midfield, good to have Wataru Endo, but there is no Jones in there. There isn't, Gravenberch is good, but he's not really set the world alight since coming to Liverpool, though he has been good. McAllister finally playing that 8. Then the front line of Cody Gakpo, and obviously on the other side, Luis Diaz, and then obviously on the other side of that, Harvey Elliott. I mentioned like loads of key names in this game, but at the start of the season again, if you'd have told me that was the starting lineup, I would have said, well, okay, how has this team evolved? Like, what went wrong with this? What went wrong with this? What went wrong with this? I wouldn't have seen the 11, 12 different injuries that Liverpool would have had. And not all of those injuries, by the way, are like down to burnout. So, and again, more injuries during the game, not great. The good feeling comes from the fact that this is the fruition, this is the fruit of what has a long time been coming for this Liverpool team and Jurgen Klopp. They've been working on it for a very long time. They've been working on the shape. They've been working on the passing. They've been working on changing the automatic nature of what it is that they do out there on the field, where you basically go, okay, down here we've got the pass that we would have made 2 seasons ago. You're not going to make that anymore. Down here, you've got the shot we would have taken 2 seasons ago created. You're not going to do that anymore because the shape of the opposition doesn't allow you to do that anymore. What we're going to do is we're going to do this now, which means that Liverpool now spread to the fullback in a different way. They go infield in a different way. They try and play through the lines in a different way. And the shape and movement of this Liverpool team is so different. But guess what? That means that if you take some of those big names out who we previously played to the strengths of, there are new names in there that we can play to the strengths of. McAllister plays more like a 10 in this team. Wataru Endo is just laterally moving from side to side, but much more on the left side than on the right because of the way that Konate plays, right? And the way that someone like Bradley would play in this team is so many different things. You got Virgil van Dijk, who was absolutely dominant. Like, obviously, I actually think Wataru Endo deserves man of the match in this game. I'd love to know who your nomination was. But I think Virgil van Dijk is very much up there, scoring 2 goals in the game. By the way, it was 2 goals. And at the same time, being a leader in the back, showing so many different things that we needed. Let's talk about that first half. Where do you even start with it, right? Because it was so up and down for us. I know that there was like a nervousness because of that team that I just named going into this game. I know there was nervousness because there were so many people who were missing. But there was also a confidence because they just beaten that Luton team 4-1. But when you look at the Chelsea lineup, when you look at what that team is capable of, when you look at the billion-dollar bottle jobs, as Gary Neville said it, then of course you go, yeah, like they're meant to be the favourites in this game. Look at the lineup. But weirdly, like, because of Liverpool's system, because the way he coaches, because Klopp has this final season thing, because it also has the youth in there, because it also has this kind of, hey, this is your opportunity, hey, we're Liverpool, all these different little weird things, hey, it's Wembley, hey, look at our away fans, they look amazing. There is like it's a one-off, right? It's not like a league game where you're part of like 38 games, and sure, like, form goes out the window, whatever. It's not about that. Form is very much in the frame for this. Liverpool are one of the form teams right now, despite, losing to Arsenal or whatever. But they can beat a Chelsea. Chelsea are 10th in the Premier League. Chelsea are a side who are still finding their feet. They're still finding their identity. Mentally, they're such a different side to Liverpool. And what you found is that within this Liverpool squad now, they are not only taking the mentality to the very top, like I've been saying all season, but they're also taking it throughout the squad. When people come on, there is a confidence. There is a very clear tactical idea within this Liverpool team as to where they want to go. But the problem being, Chelsea actually shut that down pretty well in this game. Cody Gakpo barely found any space, and sure, there were other Liverpool players that found space, but Chelsea pretty much low blocked and then mid blocked for a majority of the game, breaking on Liverpool. Almost all of Chelsea's opportunities came from them blocking the midfield up, making it really difficult to get through, winning in the middle of the park, and then breaking on Liverpool as quick as they could while Liverpool players were out of position. Sure, they created some really good opportunities. Keller had to make some big saves, but let's not act like either team was particularly dominant in this game. Finals, it's very difficult to find a dominant team in a lot of finals unless it's like a City versus, a much lower league side or, whatever. This was very much like Chelsea counter-attacking and Liverpool really getting quite frustrated by the way that Chelsea were playing. It's great Poch work. It's actually really good tactical work from Pochettino, which is another reason why I don't think Poch should be sacked, but that's a whole other video, right? But, we knew that there wasn't that physical, element all over the field for Liverpool. It was concentrated in Endo and McAllister, and then that's why we had Gravenberch. But then when Gravenberch was injured, suddenly it completely changed the face of the game. Liverpool were just about competing. Like, they hadn't had those moments, like Kelleher made that amazing save in the first half, right? Alisson-esque. It was Kelleher-esque, right? But he made it, and it was an amazing save. If Chelsea had better finishes, who knows where that goes? We might have been fortunate on the day, right, that Chelsea's finishing was abysmal. But at the same time, great save Kelleher. Loads of Liverpool players putting their bodies on the line. Loads of people just trying to get in front of the ball. And that was part of the ethos of this team. But the real issue was that after the Gravenberch injury, which, by the way, was a red, because, first of all, it's just a reckless tackle in the first place. It doesn't really matter if there's intent in there in the first place. He's just being reckless, throwing himself around. Look at the way he follows through on him. That's a planted foot, all these kind of things. Of course, he was going to go off on a stretcher. Why there wasn't a review there of some sort, I don't know, because they found it relevant to review other things that you would wonder whether you're allowed to relevantly review that in the first place. Strange decisions. And then secondly, that completely changes the face of the game for Liverpool. People are talking about personnel and it being like, hey, Liverpool have only got this many players available, or, let's talk about the system. No one's really talking about the system. If you have a pressing system and you know where you press, how you press, what triggers that press, and then suddenly we have to completely rotate that team, that changes your press. It basically took 10 minutes out of the game for this Liverpool side because the Liverpool team had to rejig. And I know that people are going to go, well, you've got to be able to play. Yeah, they did. Liverpool completely played on the bounce there, rather than it being like, hey, here's what we're going to do. That would have been a second push, if not a third or fourth push from Liverpool in that in the first half of that game. Because guess what? Towards the end of those halves, that's when we're going to push. But we couldn't do that because you just have one of your main players in midfield taken out. Someone who was, he wasn't like prominent before that. In fact, I think he was probably the weakest of the three midfielders. But for that reason, I don't think he was terrible. I just think the other two midfielders were great. Endo and McAllister are fantastic players, and their experience in any side is showing for this Liverpool team at the moment. And that's partially why we got through this game. Towards the end of the game, it looked like one of those TV shows where you see a load of kids running around with the adults. It was Endo and the Liverpool kids and Harvey Elliott and obviously Van Dijk and Quansah towards the end. Anyway, the point being, it changed everything for Liverpool. Not only do we have a light bench in the first place, but now we had an even lighter bench in which we had to bring on someone even earlier than we probably want to, change the shape earlier than we probably want to, brief the players, work out who was going to go where. You just had to get through to half time at that point. And it's kind of weird because the refereeing, I think both teams were like weirdly unhappy with the refereeing, but Liverpool particularly were unhappy with the refereeing at this point. Gravenberch had been hobbled needlessly. By the way, also because this Chelsea team feel a sense of desperation just to put tackles in because they put themselves in desperate positions, do stupid things because they see themselves as the underdog, because their team identity still isn't there, because the players still look confused. That is dangerous to the opposition. It's dangerous to teams who at the very top end are playing like football, like Liverpool, which is fast, easily gets around them. They get frustrated. They start making rash tackles. They start doing things like this. You tend to find that teams with very little identity or frustration in the team actually, they injure the better sides because guess what? those better sides just playing the ball around them. They're getting frustrated. The only way to keep up is to tackle them in that way, to try to level the playing field. Anyway, point being, Liverpool went into half-time, and I turned to my friend Safa I was with, and I was like, bro, what have we got here to bring off the bench? We look at the bench before the game, and it's like, okay, there's no Salah, no Szoboszlai, there's no Jota, there's no Trent. We were expecting at least one of them to be on the bench as like hey, be aware, this guy might come on at some point. No. Not even as a shot across the bows of Chelsea. This was just youth throughout that bench. And so going into the second half, you could see Liverpool clearly had an MO. They clearly were kicking towards the cop for them. And it was refreshing to watch. But Chelsea were winning it. They weren't winning it, they were edging the areas they needed to edge. It didn't mean they had total dominance the whole game, but it meant that they were able to shut Liverpool down relatively easily. And even when Liverpool were pushed out wide and forced to go around them, there wasn't much opportunity to get into the middle. I know there were those scrambles that Chelsea had, those moments. But really, it was working very effectively for Chelsea at that point. That was the way that Chelsea were going to win the game. Whether $1 billion or whatever, this is the way that Pochettino is playing at the moment because he doesn't quite have every piece in place that you might want, right? Put it that way. That's what I think is happening anyway. And if they had a striker, I think they'd be so much more, try to be much more dominant, but they just didn't have anyone in the middle. It was like, hey, who are you going to play that through? Nicholas Jackson? And Jackson's great, don't get me wrong, but you think of the difference between Jackson and some of the other, Jackson's high quality, don't get me wrong, but you get what I'm saying, right? Anyway, second half, Liverpool then have to step out. They have to do something. It's a final, and they do. Harvey Elliott was all over the place. He was trying to win the ball back almost constantly. Cody Gakpo was the same. I thought Diaz actually had a really decent first half. But what really impressed me was, again, Wataru Endo. What really impressed me was the way that he was winning the ball back, the way that he was then playing it really seamlessly into the wide positions or to McAllister or to whoever it was that was going to dispute. I was kind of disappointed there wasn't a Jones available in this one because I was a bit okay, it would have been great to have someone who could just get a foot on the ball and just sort of glide past a couple of people. That happened a little bit later on, but it wasn't enough, right? Anyway, the half continues in that way, and again, we're forced to make more amazing saves. We're forced to kind of basically play against this counter-attacking Chelsea team who were basically low block or mid block and didn't really bring very much to the party apart from that, right? Even when they brought their subs on, it was like, okay, we'll bring on some kids, you bring on some superstars. Mudryk came on, they brought on a whole load of different names that were, classic Chelsea names at this point. Liverpool didn't have any of that. They were bringing on kids. We brought on 3 kids in one substitution set. We already had enough kids on the field. That's all academy guys who were taking Klopp through. And again, I'll go back to it. It's because Klopp has instilled a system within this team that really works. Now, within that, that's not to say that I think we could have scored goals from open play, but a real thing that we knew was, look, get Virgil van Dijk up, get Konate up, get all the, Cody Gakpo, all the tall boys out there and run a play. That happened. That goal got ruled out, in my opinion, rightly, because Endo was offside and he was active. Now, he could have stood onside and done that, and then he wouldn't have been active, right? It was a question as to whether the referee can actually review this, because technically it's an offside decision, in which the ref wouldn't really need to do that. There was already a decision made, all these kind of things. But it was what it was, and we got it chalked off. Frustration for Virgil van Dijk and the rest of the team. It was amazing atmosphere at that point. The flares were coming down. Van Dijk was celebrating with the Liverpool crowd. It was clear that Liverpool were on something. But what it also did was when the goal was then taken out, it reinvigorated the Chelsea team. In the same way as, weirdly, Liverpool fans and voices were dominant within the stadium, right? They were so loud. It was clearly, the chants rang out around the stadium because Chelsea fans just weren't really chanting anything. There was nothing coming from that end. Believe me, I know. I was in that end. I just couldn't hear what was going on from the Chelsea players or team because there just wasn't enough atmosphere created from that Chelsea end. Liverpool were just more dominant, louder, all those kind of things. They were dominant for the national anthem being booed. They were dominant for shouting over the Chelsea anthem. They were dominant with this Anya Neville Cologne, all these kind of things. It reinvigorated the Liverpool team. It kind of went, okay, there's something going on here. Because earlier, obviously, Chelsea had an offside goal ruled out. They were offside. It just is what it is, right? They were offside. Liverpool, that's why Liverpool kind of cantered back and went, yep, he's offside. Cool. It's not a goal. Liverpool looked really relaxed about that, but the fans weren't. And in the stadium, it creates a new atmosphere. Maybe on TV, you're watching something a bit different, right? Anyway, at that point, still, Liverpool were losing the midfield battle just because Chelsea were crowding them out in so many different ways, which is weird again, because Liverpool were trying to do the press, but sometimes the press was working up until the point where Gravenberch got injured, by the way. It was really working. And it wasn't even the press. It was more like cutting off the press mixed with cutting out the passing lanes, right? But within that, and that's what Liverpool and Endo and McKenna did really, really well, was cut out those passing lanes, along with Bradley. Bradley's reading of the game is brilliant, by the way, like amazing reading of the game. The amount of times he just cut passes out in this game and did it because there was a shadow of Harvey Elliott, which then just left a passing lane, the only passing lane they could put it through. He was in that lane, bam, he's straight through. It was amazing to watch. It was really great. It was clear that Liverpool players were briefed so clearly as to how to cut out these Chelsea plays. And here's the thing, that space was left because that Wembley pitch is huge, way bigger than Anfield. One of my friends has got a theory around this, right? Is that the reason we see so many 0-0s play out there is because there's extra space there. The way that it manipulates the game, the way that it allows teams to play around the other team means there's not as much pressure in that middle area or as much pressure elsewhere. Teams have to compress the ball, but the switch is always on there. Liverpool really tried to cut that switch out. A couple of times they did it, a couple of times they failed, but it really worked for Liverpool. They tried to compress the field, similar to what they did against Newcastle and almost every other team. But the teams, when they really want to assert their dominance, they compress the field like that. Anyway, Virgil van Dijk scores that goal, chalked off. They scored their goal, that was chalked off. At this point, both teams are kind of in the stadium coming up with paranoid ideas of the refs against us, blah, blah, blah. We were talking about, is VAR for or against us in the stadium? It only led to better support from Liverpool fans, better support from everyone who was Liverpool-sided, because it was like, hey, what is actually going on here? Like, how does this work? We should have had a red card for Moises Caicedo. There were offsides. 50-50s were getting called in their direction. You can see Virgil van Dijk's face numerous times. He's been like, what? Anyway, that all played into this siege mentality that Liverpool have. And it was clear, get us in some positions where we can score goals from set pieces, if not corners, right? Second half, bang, that comes. We didn't quite get up to it. We get all these little opportunities. We're counter-attacking on Chelsea. Chelsea are counter-attacking us. But guess what? That's how Liverpool is set up. Teams think, we're counter-attacking. We're doing really well. No, you're playing directly into Konaté's hands, Van Dijk's hands, Kelleher's hands. Whoever's playing at right back at that point, whoever's playing at left back at that point. I think Klopp did a good job of refreshing that back line and getting not only the defensive side more solid, but also the attacking side more solid. Joe Gomez is in there. He's now rotating into midfield, trying to make up those numbers. Really well done, by the way. Joe Gomez carries the ball brilliantly. I know he made a couple of mistakes, but I still think his reading of the game is better than people give him credit for. His overall play is better than people give him credit for. He pops up in so many different positions out on the field. He just deserves that credit. Doesn't get it. Anyway, then that's the end of that half. There's a lot going on there. I feel like Chelsea were fortunate to come through it, but we knew that at that point we were lagging. Both teams looking tired, but Liverpool were really tired, right? Chelsea had absolutely, just when you keep counter-attacking, you keep having those sprints, those kind of things. Konaté's legs were kind of going at this point because he had to do so much catch-up. There was one point where he caught up. Literally, he was 3 or 4 people behind and caught that up in that time. It was pretty incredible, really. Some of Liverpool's recovery defending, absolutely amazing. And on the other side, Diaz was getting a little bit frustrated. So it was frustrating for us to watch. Liverpool were kind of going into corners and then just getting frustrated. Classic Pochettino ways. Frustrate the opposition, show them into corners. He's a defending manager. He knows what he's doing, right? Anyway, extra time was ours, almost completely ours. We worked that so well. There was the youthful exuberance that you were looking for. There was the naivety to just go out there and try things, dance from the middle. I just loved all these different youthful combos. It was clear that Harvey Elliott, Wataru Endo, Jarell Quansah, and Van Dijk, those were the leaders out on the field at that point. Even Tsimikas was the leader out on the field at that point because there was just so much youth in the team. It was okay, we've got something to achieve here. We've got a load of young guys. We need to just hold their hand through it, always be a passing option, always be there for them. And it worked. Not that it worked from open play, although I do think Liverpool crafted something, but just getting a corner, getting Virgil van Dijk's on their head on the end of it again, and zonal marking lets Chelsea down again. And Liverpool can just sail in and do something there, right? That worked so well. An amazing moment. Again, more flares, more shouting, more this is Liverpool. So late on, just completely deflated Chelsea. And even though their attacks came after that, it was very clear that Chelsea just weren't in the game. What does this do narratively for Liverpool? I think it plays into a couple of different aspects of what is going on for the club at the moment, right? First of all, yeah, we get it. Jurgen Klopp is leaving. This could have been one of those things where had Liverpool lost it, I think they go, this is a big learning thing. I think this is a similar learning thing for Liverpool at this point. We do have a fantastic side. We have a fantastic system. And yes, it's reaching somewhat of a peak. I think the next big test is going to be testing it out against City on the 10th. Again, injuries permitting, you'll be able to test that system out. I'll be interested to see what happens at Anfield, whether we can even get, like a full strength team together, and whether we can get a team that is even 80% fit overall, because I also think we're really running out of legs at this point in the season. A lot of youth, you can't blame them, but they have to play into being adult fitness. It's just the way it is. They can run all day, but there's thinking, there's carrying the ball, there's all these kind of things, and you could see it playing out on their bodies as the game went on, right? And I think that's worth mentioning. Endo has that mature body at this point, and he was just a battler absolutely until the end. I loved it. Same with Van Dijk. Konate had to be taken off. He was just so exhausted from doing all that. Again, I think he's kind of coming back from something. It was exhausting being in the stadium, so I can't imagine what it was like for the players. It plays into this wider thing with Klopp, right? What is it that it plays into? First of all, you've left too soon. It feels that way. And I think he knows that anyway, right? Fine. It's the end, yes. But we're winning and we're going into the end on wins, right? Which is great. Now that we've seen that, I think it also takes a lot of the pressure off this team. You've won something under Klopp to say goodbye. There is something special there. You've given them a moment with the fans. We sang You'll Never Walk Alone collectively after the game. The players were all gathered in front of it. Klopp had a moment where he was kind of pushed out by the players. He did a little thank you almost reluctantly and then went back in to the group, and everyone was sort of together in an almost Germanic fashion, right? And that was good. It's given us a lot of these moments that we've kind of now just worked through, or we're working through, and we're kind of getting those little bits, if that makes sense. I'll put a vlog out tomorrow on my main channel, which is a bit more about that. I think it's going to speak a bit more to those thoughts. And I hope that you guys enjoy that. Let me know your thoughts down below. Who's your man of the match? Mine, 100% Wataru Endo. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I thought Diaz was good. I thought Van Dijk was good. I thought Konate was good. I thought Joe Gomez was good when he came on, although, I know there was a bit of frustration in the commentary as to where he was wondering, but I think he offered a lot to Liverpool, and I really just enjoy watching this Liverpool team at the moment overall. It was amazing celebrations afterwards. It was amazing watching the flares. It was amazing feeling the atmosphere inside Wembley. It was a little bit cold, very cold actually, extremely cold. A few notes on Wembley, very cold. Yes, the roof was closed, that is good. Stop blaring house music every 2 seconds. When Liverpool fans are trying to sing You'll Never Walk Alone, don't turn it up. Just don't put house music on over and over and over again. It kills the atmosphere from the fans. And yeah, I get it. You're trying to cultivate an atmosphere, but when you've got Liverpool fans singing You'll Never Walk Alone, don't just put on another dance track and be like, yeah, It's really frustrating as a fan when you're there. I'm trying to see my own fans. I'm trying to see what atmosphere they're going to create. And instead we've just got this constant zombie nation. It's what's going on there? It kills any authentic atmosphere that we have, and it can't be good for what's happening on TV in the first place. It comes across as a really manufactured thing rather than something which is actually making a good atmosphere. And while there are Chelsea fans dancing around, it's because they don't have this. It's an unfair, I get it, Chelsea are kind of at home, but it's an unfair advantage. Let the Liverpool fans sing. Let us hear them. Don't just give me some random entertainment music that you think is there. And then secondly, it's freezing. I know out on the field has got that underfloor heating. In the stadium, doesn't affect us at all. We were both sat there oh my goodness, this is freezing. My hands were in either pocket, just trying to not shiver when holding the camera. It was absolutely freezing. It didn't affect flares, didn't affect anything else. Secondly, the signs you put up on the big screens are funny. Persistent standing. Fans are going to stand at the final. They just are. And the other one about pyrotechnics, good luck with that. It's pretty funny when they put those kind of things up. And it's so enjoyable because guess what? Those moments that people see on camera makes people want to go to Wembley. You know what doesn't make people want to go to Wembley? Empty house music, bad shots of the stadium, and manufactured moments. The best thing that Chelsea had today were some flags. The best things that Liverpool had today were all bought by the fans. It just felt like something so much more authentic, and I felt like a lot of the time they were trying to kill out what was authentic inside the stadium, and it was disappointing because I know that the FA has so many people who are so good at doing these kind of things. Anyway, more complaining about stuff later. There is a vlog tomorrow. There is all sorts of vloggy stuff over on the main channel. Hopefully if you guys haven't already subscribed here, then you will subscribe at some point. And hope you enjoyed this one. We won, guys. That's the first trophy of the season. How many more do you think we get? How many more are we capable of getting? Is this team capable of winning more? I mean, you know, with people who are talking about running, all these kind of things. I'll be talking about all that tomorrow on the channel. For now, just celebrate, enjoy it, and I will see you again right soon, right here on the channel. Long day. Much love.